Right now, in this moment, your future is being written, not by fate, not by luck, not by circumstances beyond your control. Your future is being written by the choices you're making today, the patterns you're following, and the systems you're operating within. But here's what most people don't realize. They're not consciously writing their future. They're letting it be written for them, by default settings, by other people's expectations, by the path of least resistance. They wake up 10 years later and wonder how they ended up in a life they didn't design. You don't have to live that way. There's a skill that changes everything. A skill that transforms you from someone life happens to into someone who creates their life deliberately. That skill is strategic thinking, and it's not what you think it is. Strategic thinking isn't about business plans or military tactics. It's about understanding that every choice you make is either moving you toward the life you want or away from it. It's about recognizing that your daily decisions compound over time to create your future reality. It's about learning to see the invisible forces shaping your life so you can shape them instead. Most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they spend planning their entire life. They drift from one year to the next, making decisions based on what feels comfortable in the moment, never stepping back to ask, where's all of this actually taking me? Strategic thinkers do something different. They design their lives deliberately. They think about where they want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and then they reverse engineer the path to get there. They make choices today that create the future they want tomorrow. This isn't about rigid planning or controlling every detail. It's about understanding principles that allow you to navigate uncertainty while moving consistently toward what matters most to you. It's about building systems that work for you rather than against you. It's about creating a life by design rather than by default. What strategic thinking really means. Let's start by clearing up what strategic thinking actually is, because most people have this completely wrong. Strategic thinking is not planning. Planning is making lists of things you'll do. Strategy is developing a theory about how to win. Planning says, I'll do these 10 things. Strategy says, here's why these specific actions will create the outcome I want. Most people create to-do lists and call it strategy, but a to-do list without strategic thinking behind it is just busy work. You can be incredibly productive at tasks that don't matter. You can work hard your entire life and still end up somewhere you never wanted to be. Strategic thinking asks different questions. Not what should I do today, but what kind of person am I becoming through my daily choices? Not how do I solve this immediate problem, but why does this category of problem keep appearing in my life? Not what opportunities should I take, but which opportunities move me toward the future I'm creating. Think about it this way. Imagine 2 people starting their careers. Person A thinks tactically. They take the highest paying job available. They optimize each decision for immediate benefit. They solve problems as they arise. Every individual choice seems reasonable in the moment. Person B thinks strategically. They ask, what capabilities do I need to build? What kind of work will position me uniquely? Who should I learn from? They might take a lower paying role that builds rare skills. They invest time in relationships that won't pay off for years. They choose challenges that develop capabilities rather than comfort. 5 years later, Person A has made more money in the short term, but Person B has built a foundation that creates exponential opportunities. They've developed skills that are genuinely rare. They've built relationships that open doors Person A doesn't even know exist. They've positioned themselves where the best opportunities come to them. This is strategic thinking in action. It's not about being smarter. It's about thinking at a different level. It's about understanding that your choices today are creating your options tomorrow. Here's what makes strategic thinking so powerful. It's transferable. Once you learn to think strategically in one area of your life, you can apply it everywhere. Strategic thinking about your career improves your career. Strategic thinking about your relationships improves your relationships. Strategic thinking about your health improves your health. It's a meta skill that enhances every other skill you have. But strategic thinking requires something most people are unwilling to do. It requires you to step back from the immediate and think about the long term. It requires you to make choices that might not optimize for today, but create compound returns over years and decades. It requires you to accept uncertainty about specific outcomes while building confidence in your strategic positioning. Most people can't do this. They're too caught up in the urgent to think about the important. They're too focused on solving today's problems to ask why those problems exist in the first place. They're too busy executing tactics to develop strategy. Strategic thinking means regularly pausing the execution to ask, is what I'm doing actually moving me toward what I want? Am I solving the right problems? Are my daily actions aligned with my larger vision? These questions feel indulgent when you're busy, but without them, you can spend years working incredibly hard in the wrong direction. There's another crucial aspect of strategic thinking that most people miss. It's about creating optionality. You're not trying to predict exactly what will happen. You're positioning yourself so that many different futures lead to good outcomes for you. Tactical thinkers try to predict the future and prepare for that specific future. Strategic thinkers accept that the future is uncertain and build resilience and adaptability instead. They develop capabilities that are valuable across multiple scenarios. They build relationships that create opportunities in different directions. They position themselves at intersections where different trends converge. This is why strategic thinkers seem lucky. They're not lucky. They've positioned themselves where opportunities are more likely to find them. They've built capabilities that make them valuable when opportunities arise. They've created multiple paths to their goals so that setbacks don't derail them. Strategic thinking is also about understanding leverage. Not all actions are equal. Some actions create linear returns. You put in X effort, you get X result. Other actions create exponential returns. You put in X effort, you get 10X or 100X result over time. Strategic thinkers focus relentlessly on high-leverage actions. They ask, what can I do that will create compound returns? What investment today will pay dividends for years? What capability, if I built it now, would open multiple doors later? They're not just working hard. They're working strategically on things that multiply their impact over time. Consider learning as an example. You can learn specific facts and skills that are immediately useful. That's tactical learning. Or you can learn how to learn, developing meta skills that make you better at acquiring any new skill. That's strategic learning. The tactical approach gives you immediate capability. The strategic approach compounds across your entire life, making you better at everything you do. Strategic thinking means always asking, what's the higher level game I should be playing? Not just, how do I get good at this specific thing? But what should I be getting good at that will make everything else easier? Not just, how do I solve this problem? But what upstream change would prevent this entire category of problems? Most people never ask these questions. They stay focused on the immediate, the visible, the urgent. Strategic thinkers regularly zoom out to see the bigger picture. They think about patterns, not just events. They think about systems, not just symptoms. They think about positioning, not just action. This shift in thinking changes everything. When you think strategically, you stop feeling like life is happening to you. You start feeling like you're actively creating your life. Challenges stop feeling like random obstacles and start feeling like information about what needs to change. Setbacks stop feeling like failures and start feeling like course corrections. Strategic Thinking transforms you from a passive participant in your life to an active designer of your life. And that changes everything. The strategic mindset shift. The transition from tactical to strategic thinking isn't just about learning new frameworks. It's about a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and your relationship with the future. Most people operate with what I call a fixed present mindset. They see themselves as who they are right now, and they make decisions based on that current identity. I'm not good at public speaking, so I'll avoid presentations. I'm not a morning person, so I won't try to wake up early. I'm not creative, so I won't pursue that idea. This mindset keeps you locked in your current patterns. If you make decisions based on who you are today, you'll stay who you are today. You'll optimize for your current capabilities, which means you'll never develop new capabilities. Strategic thinkers operate with what I call a dynamic future mindset. They see themselves as someone in the process of becoming. They don't ask, who am I? They ask, who am I becoming through my daily choices? They don't make decisions based on their current identity. They make decisions based on their intended future identity. This shifts everything. When someone with a dynamic future mindset encounters something they're not good at, they don't avoid it. They ask, do I want to become someone who's good at this? If yes, they lean into it despite current discomfort. If no, they deliberately choose not to develop that capability to focus elsewhere. The difference is agency. Fixed present mindset people feel like their capabilities are given. Dynamic future mindset people understand their capabilities are constructed through deliberate choices over time. Here's a concrete example. Imagine two people who want to improve their health. Person A, fixed present mindset, thinks, I'm not athletic. I've never been good at exercise. I'll try to force myself to go to the gym, but I'll probably quit because that's just not who I am. Person B, dynamic future mindset, thinks, I'm someone who's building the capability to maintain health. Right now I don't enjoy exercise, but I'm becoming someone who does. I'll start small, build the identity gradually, and design my environment to support the person I'm becoming. See the difference? Person A is trapped by their current identity. Person B is creating a new identity through strategic choices. Person A will likely fail because they're fighting against their self-concept. Person B will likely succeed because they're building a new self-concept. This mindset shift applies to everything. Career transitions, skill development, relationship patterns, financial habits. The question is never, can I do this given who I am now? The question is always, do I want to become someone who can do this? And if so, what strategic choices would build that capability? There's another crucial aspect of the strategic mindset. It distinguishes between circumstances and responses. Tactical thinkers believe their circumstances determine their outcomes. If circumstances are bad, outcomes will be bad. If circumstances are good, outcomes will be good. They're at the mercy of external factors. Strategic thinkers understand something different. Circumstances influence outcomes, but responses determine outcomes. You don't control what happens to you, but you absolutely control how you respond to what happens to you. And those responses, over time, create your life. This is deeply empowering. It means that even in difficult circumstances, you have agency. Even when things don't go according to plan, you can respond strategically. Even when you face setbacks, you can position yourself to benefit from what you've learned. Consider someone who loses their job. A tactical thinker spirals. This is terrible. What will I do? How will I pay bills? This has ruined everything. They're focused entirely on the immediate problem and their inability to control what happened. A strategic thinker responds differently. This wasn't planned, but it's happened. What can I learn from why this happened? What opportunities does this create? How can I use this transition to reposition myself more advantageously? What would I do if I saw this as an opportunity rather than just a problem? Both people face the same circumstance, but their responses create completely different futures. The tactical thinker stays stuck in reaction mode. The strategic thinker uses the disruption to make changes they might not have made otherwise. This is the strategic mindset in action. It's not positive thinking or denial of difficulty. It's a fundamental belief that your response to circumstances matters more than the circumstances themselves. And that belief changes how you engage with everything in your life. The strategic mindset also involves thinking probabilistically rather than deterministically. Tactical thinkers want certainty. They want to know that if they do X, Y will definitely happen. When they can't have that certainty, they get paralyzed or anxious. Strategic thinkers accept that the future is fundamentally uncertain. They can't know for sure what will happen, but they can make choices that increase the probability of favorable outcomes and decrease the probability of catastrophic outcomes. They think in terms of expected value over time, not guaranteed results in any single instance. This allows them to act decisively even with incomplete information. They're not waiting for perfect clarity. They're making their best strategic bet based on available information, knowing they'll adjust as they learn more. There's one more critical element of the strategic mindset: long-term orientation. Most people have incredibly short time horizons. They think about this week, this month, maybe this year. Strategic thinkers think in decades. When you extend your time horizon, your decisions change dramatically. Things that seem urgent in the short term reveal themselves as trivial in the long term. Things that seem optional in the short term reveal themselves as essential in the long term. A short-term thinker asks, "What will make me feel good today?" A long-term thinker asks, "What will I be glad I did 10 years from now?" Those questions lead to completely different choices. The strategic mindset, fundamentally, is about understanding that you are not fixed. Your life is not determined. Your future is not written. You are, at every moment, in the process of creating who you're becoming through the choices you're making. And when you truly internalize that, everything changes. If you're starting to see how this mindset shift could transform your life, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We're going deep on practical frameworks for creating the life you want. Subscribe now, and let's continue this journey together. Designing your future self. Here's a question that most people never seriously consider. Who do you want to be 5 years from now? Not what do you want to have. Not where do you want to be. Who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to become? What capabilities do you want to have built? What character do you want to have developed? What impact do you want to be having? Most people can't answer this question with any specificity. They have vague wishes. I want to be successful, or I want to be happy, but no clear vision of their future self. And without that vision, they can't make strategic choices today that create that future. Strategic life design starts with creating a detailed vision of your future self, not a fantasy. A strategic vision based on who you could realistically become through deliberate effort over time. Here's how to do this. Set aside time when you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes and imagine yourself 5 years from now. But don't just imagine external circumstances. Imagine who you've become as a person. What does your typical day look like? Not because you're forcing it, but because you've built systems and habits that make it natural. How do you spend your time? What work are you doing? What relationships are you investing in? What makes you feel alive and engaged? What capabilities have you built? What can you do 5 years from now that you can't do today? What skills have become second nature? What knowledge have you internalized? What experiences have you accumulated? What's different about how you think? How has your perspective evolved? What assumptions have you questioned and updated? What wisdom have you gained? What mental models have you developed? What's your physical and mental state? How do you feel in your body? What's your energy level? What's your resilience like? How do you handle stress? What practices have you built that maintain your well-being? What's your financial position? Not specific numbers, but what freedom does your financial situation create? What options do you have? What are you no longer worried about? What can you invest in? What impact are you having? On the people close to you? On your field or community? On the problems you care about? What difference are you making? What are you contributing? Get as specific as possible. The more detailed your vision of your future self, the more strategic guidance it provides for your current choices. Vague visions create vague strategies. Clear visions create clear strategies. But here's the critical part. This vision of your future self isn't a prediction. It's a target. It's who you're consciously choosing to become. And here's why that matters. Once you have a clear target, you can reverse engineer the path. This is strategic thinking at its most powerful. You start with the end in mind, then work backwards. If that's who I want to be 5 years from now, who do I need to be 3 years from now? 1 year from now? 6 months from now? This month? This week? Today? Each time horizon becomes clearer. If 5 years from now you're someone who's built a specific capability, then 1 year from now you need to be someone who's already making significant progress on that capability. Which means 6 months from now you need to be someone who's built the foundational skills. Which means this month you need to be someone who's started learning those foundational skills. Which means this week you need to be someone who's taken the first steps. See how this works? Your future vision creates a cascade of identities you need to step into at each time horizon. And those identities determine your choices today. Let me make this concrete. Imagine your future self 5 years from now as someone who's financially independent, who's built assets that generate passive income, who has the freedom to choose projects based on interest rather than necessity. If that's your 5-year target, then 3 years from now you need to be someone who's already generating significant passive income and building additional income streams. Which means 1 year from now you need to be someone who's built the first income-generating asset and learned how to create others. Which means 6 months from now you need to be someone who's developed skills in asset creation and started building your first one. Which means this month you need to be someone who's learning about different types of income-generating assets and choosing which to pursue first. Which means this week you need to be someone who's investing time in research and education about passive income. Each step is manageable. Each step builds on the previous step. But all of it flows from that clear vision of your future self. Without the vision, you wouldn't know which skills to build or which opportunities to pursue. With the vision, your path becomes clear. This approach works for any area of life. Want to be someone with rich, deep relationships 5 years from now? Reverse engineer what that requires. Want to be someone with a specific level of expertise? Reverse engineer the learning path. Want to be someone with specific character traits? Reverse engineer the experiences and practices that would develop those traits. But here's something crucial. Your future self isn't just about acquisition. It's not just about what you'll have or what you'll be able to do. It's about who you'll have become through the process of getting there. The person who becomes financially independent through building valuable skills and creating assets becomes different than the person who becomes financially independent through winning the lottery. The process shapes the person. The journey shapes who arrives at the destination. This is why strategic thinking about your future self is so important. You're not just designing outcomes. You're designing the person you become through pursuing those outcomes. And that person, your future self, is more important than any specific achievement. There's another powerful aspect of this future self vision. It becomes your filter for decisions. When you face a choice, you don't just ask, "What do I want right now?" You ask, Does this choice move me toward becoming my future self, or away from it? That job opportunity that pays more but builds capabilities you don't want? Your future self vision helps you say no. That relationship that's comfortable but not challenging? Your future self vision helps you recognize it's not aligned. That way of spending time that's pleasant but not building anything? Your future self vision helps you redirect. Your future self becomes your North Star, not rigid or inflexible, but clear enough to guide your navigation even when circumstances change. And here's what's beautiful about this approach. Your future self can evolve. Every 6 months or a year, you revisit your vision. You ask, is this still who I want to become? What have I learned that should update my vision? What's changed in my circumstances or understanding that should shift my target? Your future self-vision isn't set in stone. It's a living target that evolves as you do. But at any given moment, it needs to be clear enough to guide your choices. This is how you design your life strategically. You don't just drift from one year to the next, making choices based on what feels good in the moment. You consciously create a vision of who you want to become, then reverse engineer the path, then make daily choices aligned with that path. Most people will never do this. They'll continue making decisions based on their current self, optimizing for their current comfort, staying within their current patterns, and they'll wonder why their life doesn't change. But you can be different. You can design your future self deliberately. You can make choices today that create the person you want to become tomorrow. And when you do that consistently over years, you create a life that most people think is impossible. Strategic goal architecture. Goals are not created equal. The way you structure your goals determines whether they'll actually change your life or just keep you busy. Most people set goals wrong. They create a flat list of things they want to accomplish. Lose 20 pounds. Make $100,000. Read 50 books. Learn Spanish. Start a business. These goals have no relationship to each other. They're just a collection of desired outcomes. Strategic goal architecture is different. It's about understanding that goals exist in hierarchies, and the structure of those hierarchies determines everything. At the top of your goal hierarchy are what I call identity goals. These aren't about doing or having. They're about becoming. Who do you want to be? Not just what do you want to achieve, but what kind of person do you want to become in the process of achieving it? Identity goals might look like, I want to become someone who maintains excellent health throughout my life. I want to become someone who creates value for others through my work. I want to become someone who builds deep, meaningful relationships. I want to become someone who continually learns and evolves. Notice these aren't specific achievements. They're identities. They're about who you're becoming, not what you're accomplishing. And that's crucial because identities drive behavior in a way that outcome goals don't. Below identity goals are what I call directional goals. These are the broad domains where you'll express your identity. If your identity goal is to become someone who maintains excellent health, your directional goals might be build physical fitness, develop nutritional wisdom, create stress management practices, optimize sleep and recovery. Directional goals give you clear areas of focus without specifying exact outcomes. You're not saying lose 20 pounds by June. You're saying move in the direction of physical fitness. The specific weight becomes less important than the direction you're moving. Below directional goals are what I call milestone goals. These are specific, measurable achievements that indicate progress in your chosen direction. For the physical fitness direction, milestones might be complete a 5K, deadlift your body weight, maintain consistent exercise for 90 days, reduce body fat to a specific percentage. Milestones are important because they give you concrete targets and feedback on progress. But notice, they serve the direction, which serves the identity. They're not disconnected achievements. They're evidence that you're becoming who you want to become. At the bottom of the hierarchy are what I call action goals. These are the specific behaviors and practices you'll implement consistently. Daily exercise, tracking nutrition, sleep schedule, stress management routines. These are the actual things you do every day. Now here's why this hierarchy matters. When everything connects to your identity, your goals become coherent. You're not trying to accomplish 10 random things. You're becoming a specific kind of person, and all your goals serve that transformation. This creates several powerful effects. First, it eliminates goal conflict. When your goals are just a flat list, they often compete with each other. Working on goal A means not working on goal B. You're constantly choosing, constantly feeling like you're neglecting something. When your goals are hierarchically structured around clear identities, they reinforce each other. Building physical fitness serves your identity of maintaining health. Building nutritional wisdom serves the same identity. They're not competing. They're collaborating. Second, hierarchical goal structure creates automatic prioritization. When you face a choice about how to spend time or energy, you ask, which option better serves my identity goals? The answer is usually clear. You're not choosing between equally weighted priorities. You're choosing what best serves your becoming. Third, this structure creates resilience. If you miss a milestone, you haven't failed at your identity. You've just learned something about your path. You adjust your milestones or your actions, but your direction and identity remain stable. You don't quit. You adapt. Fourth, hierarchical goals create compound benefits. Every action serves a milestone. Every milestone serves a direction. Every direction serves an identity. Nothing is wasted. Everything you do compounds toward who you're becoming. Compare this to flat goal lists. If you have a goal to read 50 books this year, why? What identity does that serve? What direction does it move you in? If you don't know, you're just collecting accomplishments without purpose. And when things get difficult, you'll quit because there's no deeper motivation. But if your identity goal is become someone who continually learns and evolves, and your directional goal is develop deep understanding of key domains, and your milestone goal is read 50 books in areas directly related to my growth, suddenly that same reading goal has power. It's not just an arbitrary number. It serves your identity. Here's how to build your strategic goal architecture. Start with identity. Who do you want to become? What kind of person do you want to be 5 years from now? Don't rush this. Your identity goals are the foundation of everything else. Once you have clarity on identity, identify directions. What are the key areas where you'll express and develop these identities? Most people have 3 to 5 major directions: health, relationships, work, learning, contribution. Maybe finances, if that's strategic for your goals. Don't overcomplicate. A few clear directions are better than many vague ones. For each direction, identify milestones. What are specific achievements that would indicate real progress in this direction? Make them measurable so you know when you've hit them. Make them meaningful so they actually represent progress. Make them challenging but achievable so they stretch you without breaking you. For each milestone, identify actions. What are the specific behaviors and practices you'll implement consistently? These should be things you can do daily or weekly. These are your tactics, your execution. But notice, they're not random tactics. They serve milestones, which serve directions, which serve identity. Write all of this down. Create a visual map of your goal architecture. Identity goals at the top, directional goals below, milestone goals below that, action goals at the bottom. Draw the connections. See how everything flows from identity. This map becomes your strategic framework. When you're deciding how to spend your time, you consult your map. When you're evaluating opportunities, you consult your map. When you're feeling stuck or unmotivated, you consult your map to reconnect with your identity. But here's what makes this truly strategic. Your goal architecture should evolve. Every quarter, review it. Are your identity goals still right? Are your directions still aligned? Are your milestones still relevant? Are your actions still serving your milestones? Update what needs updating. Eliminate what's no longer serving you. Add what's become important. Your goal architecture is a living document, not a static plan. Most people will never build this kind of structure. They'll keep setting random goals, accomplishing some and abandoning others, never experiencing the compound power of coherent goal architecture. But when you build goals strategically, when everything connects to who you're becoming, you create unstoppable momentum. Every day's actions serve your becoming. Every milestone reached proves your identity. Every direction followed transforms who you are. This is how you create a life strategically, not through random accomplishment, but through architected transformation, building strategic systems. Here's a truth that will transform your life. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals are important. Vision is important. But without systems to implement them, they're just wishes. Strategic life design requires building systems that make success inevitable rather than requiring constant willpower. Think about your life right now. Most of your outcomes are determined by your systems, not your intentions. You intend to eat healthily, but if you stock your kitchen with junk food, you'll eat junk food. You intend to exercise regularly, but if you don't have a system for making it happen, it won't happen consistently. You intend to build your career strategically, but if you don't have systems for skill development and networking, you'll stay reactive. Systems are structures that produce reliable outcomes without requiring willpower or remembering. They're the architecture of your life. And strategic thinkers design their systems deliberately. Let's start with what makes a good system. Good systems have several characteristics. First, they're automatic or nearly automatic. You don't have to decide to execute them each time. They're either triggered by circumstances or they're so habitual that they happen without conscious effort. Second, good systems are sustainable. You can maintain them indefinitely without burnout or willpower depletion. They're integrated into your life in a way that feels natural, not like constant battle. Third, good systems are robust. They keep working even when circumstances change or when you occasionally fail to execute perfectly. They have built-in recovery mechanisms. Fourth, good systems create compound returns. The output of the system becomes input for future cycles, creating growth over time. Let me give you concrete examples. A morning routine is a system. If designed well, it automatically accomplishes multiple goals without requiring decisions each morning. You wake up at a consistent time. You execute a series of practice behaviors. Physical movement, perhaps. Mental preparation. Strategic thinking time. Skill development. Whatever serves your goals. But it's systematic, not dependent on motivation. An information diet system might look like this. You've curated specific sources that consistently provide high-quality information relevant to your goals. You've scheduled specific times to consume information. You've built a practice of processing and applying what you learn. You've eliminated low-quality information sources. This system ensures you're constantly learning without getting overwhelmed by information overload. A relationship maintenance system might involve scheduled check-ins with important people in your life, not because you don't care about them spontaneously, but because life gets busy and important relationships deserve systematic attention. You've built a practice of reaching out regularly, creating opportunities for deep connection, and maintaining relationships that matter. A financial system might automatically direct portions of your income to different purposes: savings, investment, expenses, giving. You're not deciding each time money comes in. The system handles it automatically. You've removed decision-making from something that should be systematic. Notice what these systems do. They take important outcomes and make them the default result rather than requiring constant conscious effort. You're not relying on willpower. You're relying on structure. This is the strategic approach to life design. You identify important outcomes. Then you build systems that produce those outcomes reliably. You're not just working harder. You're working systematically. Here's how to build strategic systems in your life. First, identify your key outcomes. What results do you need to create consistently? Health outcomes, learning outcomes, relationship outcomes, work outcomes, financial outcomes. Don't try to systematize everything. Focus on what matters most. For each key outcome, ask, what would need to happen regularly to produce this outcome reliably? Not occasionally. Not when you feel motivated. Regularly and systematically. Then design systems that make those regular actions happen. This usually means creating triggers, specific times or circumstances that initiate the system, removing friction, making the actions as easy as possible to execute, and creating accountability, ways to ensure you notice and respond when the system breaks down. Let me walk through an example. Imagine you want to build deep expertise in a specific domain. That's your outcome. What needs to happen regularly? You need to learn consistently, practice consistently, get feedback consistently, reflect on what you're learning consistently. How do you systematize that? Maybe your system looks like every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. is dedicated learning time. You've prepared materials in advance, so there's no decision-making in the moment. You've eliminated distractions during that time. After learning, you spend 10 minutes reflecting and capturing key insights. Once per week, you apply what you've learned to a practice project. Once per month, you seek feedback from someone more skilled. This system doesn't require willpower because it's triggered by time warning. Friction is removed, materials ready, and there's built-in accountability, weekly and monthly practices. Execute this system consistently for a year and expertise becomes inevitable. Compare this to the non-systematic approach. I want to build expertise, so I'll try to study when I have time and motivation. That person will study occasionally when they feel inspired, but there's no system ensuring consistent progress. A year later, they'll have made little progress and won't understand why. Systems beat goals. Consistently executed systems make goals irrelevant because the outcomes become inevitable. But here's something crucial. Systems compound. When you build multiple systems that work together, they create exponential results. Your morning learning system makes your work system more effective. Your work system generates resources that make your financial system more powerful. Your health system gives you energy that makes all other systems more sustainable. This is strategic systems thinking. You're not just building isolated systems. You're building an ecosystem of systems that reinforce each other. There's another powerful principle, leverage systems. These are systems that don't require your time once they're set up. They work in the background, producing results without your ongoing effort. Financial examples are obvious, investments that compound automatically. But leverage systems exist everywhere. Building an audience that follows your work creates opportunities without ongoing effort to find each opportunity. Building expertise that makes you the go-to person in your domain creates inbound opportunities. Building relationships that consistently refer opportunities to you creates deal flow without constant networking. Strategic thinkers constantly ask, what can I build once that will keep working? What system can I create that produces ongoing returns? They're not just trading time for outcomes. They're building systems that multiply their impact. Here's your action step. Audit your life for missing systems. Where are you relying on willpower or motivation? Where are you repeatedly failing at something you claim is important? Where are you getting inconsistent results? These are opportunities for systems. Choose one area. Design a system that would produce the outcome you want reliably. Start executing that system daily until it becomes automatic. Then design the next system. Over time, you build a life that runs on effective systems rather than constant effort. Most people resist this because it feels mechanical. They want spontaneity and freedom. But here's the paradox. Systems create freedom. When important outcomes happen systematically, you're freed from anxiety about them. When your health is systematized, you don't worry about health. When your learning is systematized, you don't worry about falling behind. When your finances are systematized, you don't worry about money. Systems remove uncertainty from important outcomes, which creates freedom to focus on creativity, relationships, and growth. This is strategic life design. Build systems for what matters. Create freedom everywhere else. We're going deeper on how to build systems that transform your life. If you want to learn specific frameworks and templates for system building, subscribe to the channel. We're creating a library of strategic life design tools. Subscribe now and join this community. Strategic relationships and networks. Your network isn't just a professional asset. It's one of the most strategic elements of your life. The people you consistently interact with shape who you become, what opportunities you encounter, and what seems possible to you. Think about it this way. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, not because of some mystical force, but because humans learn behaviors, beliefs, and standards from those around them. If you spend time with people who are ambitious, you'll absorb ambition. If you spend time with people who are cynical, you'll absorb cynicism. If you spend time with people who are constantly learning, you'll value learning more. This means your relationships are strategic choices, not just social happenstance. Yet most people build relationships accidentally. They're friends with whoever happened to be nearby in school or work. They maintain relationships out of habit or obligation, even when those relationships don't serve mutual growth. Strategic relationship building is different. It's about consciously curating who you invest time with based on who you're becoming and what you're trying to create. This isn't about being transactional or manipulative. It's about being intentional. You have limited time and energy. Every relationship you maintain is a choice not to invest that time elsewhere. Strategic thinking means making those choices deliberately. Here's how to think about relationships strategically. First, categorize your relationships by function. Some relationships challenge you to grow. Some provide emotional support. Some connect you to opportunities. Some teach you. Some are purely for enjoyment. Some combine multiple functions. You need different types of relationships serving different purposes. A network entirely of mentors is unbalanced. You're not giving back. A network entirely of people you mentor is unbalanced. You're not learning. A network entirely of peers is unbalanced. You're not stretching up or giving back down. Strategic networks have diversity of relationship types. Second, assess your current relationships honestly. Which relationships consistently make you better? Which challenge you to think bigger? Which expose you to new ideas and perspectives? Which support you through difficulty? Which connect you to opportunities? Which bring joy? And which relationships drain energy without reciprocal benefit? Which encourage mediocrity? Which keep you stuck in old patterns? Which are maintained only out of obligation? This isn't about ruthlessly cutting people out. It's about honest assessment of where your relational energy is going. Third, identify gaps. What types of relationships are missing from your life? Do you need more people who challenge you intellectually? More people in different fields who bring fresh perspectives? More people further along in their journey who can guide you? more people you can mentor and contribute to. Strategic relationship building means deliberately cultivating relationships that fill these gaps. You're not waiting for relationships to happen. You're creating them intentionally. Here's how to do this practically. Identify people whose work or thinking you admire. Reach out thoughtfully. Don't ask for generic coffee meetings. Offer specific value. I noticed you're working on X. I've been exploring Y, which relates. Would you be interested in exchanging ideas? You're creating value in the initial interaction. Build relationships over time through consistent engagement. Comment thoughtfully on their work. Share relevant resources. Connect them with people they should know. Demonstrate that you're someone who creates value, not just extracts it. When you do get opportunities to interact, be genuinely curious. Ask questions that help you understand their thinking, not just collect advice. The best relationships are learning relationships where both people benefit from the exchange. But here's what makes relationship building truly strategic. You're not collecting contacts. You're building a community of people who are on similar journeys, who share values even if they have different perspectives, who bring out the best in each other. Strategic network building also means being strategic about what you share and contribute. You're not just a consumer in your relationships. You're actively creating value. What unique perspective do you bring? What connections can you make? What knowledge can you share? What support can you offer? The people who build the most powerful networks are those who are consistently valuable to others. They're connectors who introduce people who should know each other. They're sharers who pass along resources and opportunities. They're problem solvers who help others think through challenges. They're cheerleaders who celebrate others' successes. When you consistently create value for your network reciprocates, not through obligation, but through genuine desire to support someone who supported them. This creates a virtuous cycle where everyone benefits from everyone else's success. There's another strategic dimension, positioning yourself at intersections. The most valuable positions in networks are bridges between different clusters. If you're connected to people in technology, and people in healthcare, and people in education, you can spot opportunities that exist at the intersection of these domains that people within any single domain would miss. Strategic network positioning means deliberately building connections across different fields, different perspectives, different backgrounds. You're not just going deep in one network. You're connecting multiple networks, which positions you to see things others don't. But strategic relationships aren't just professional. Personal relationships require strategy too. Who you choose to build your life with, romantic partners, close friends, family you invest in. These are perhaps the most consequential strategic decisions you'll make. Ask strategic questions about important relationships. Does this relationship bring out my best self or my mediocre self? Does this person challenge me to grow or enable stagnation? Do we share values even when we disagree on specifics? Can we have difficult conversations and emerge stronger? Are we building something together or just passing time? These questions aren't comfortable, but they're necessary. The people closest to you shape your life more than any other factor. If those relationships aren't aligned with who you're becoming, you'll constantly feel torn between your relationships and your growth. Strategic relationship thinking also means knowing when to let relationships evolve or end. Not every relationship needs to last forever. People grow in different directions. That's natural. Trying to maintain every relationship you've ever had is neither possible nor strategic. Some relationships should evolve from close to casual. That's okay. Some relationships should end when they've run their natural course. That's okay too. Strategic thinking means recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving mutual growth and having the courage to let it change. The goal isn't to accumulate the most relationships. It's to build a network of relationships that support who you're becoming, that challenge you to grow, that expose you to opportunities, that bring joy, that create value for everyone involved. When you build relationships strategically, you're not alone in pursuing your goals. You're part of a community of people who are collectively creating better lives. That's infinitely more powerful than trying to do it alone. Strategic time management. Time is your most fundamental resource. You can earn more money. You can't create more time. How you use your time literally creates your life. Yet most people treat time casually. They let other people and circumstances determine how their time gets spent. They stay busy but never accomplish what matters most. They work hard without making strategic progress. Strategic time management is completely different from conventional time management. Conventional time management is about efficiency. How do I do more things in less time? Strategic time management is about effectiveness. Am I spending time on the right things? You can be incredibly efficient at the wrong things. You can optimize your schedule to accomplish dozens of tasks that don't actually move you toward your goals. Efficiency without strategy is just busy work at high speed. Strategic time management starts with a simple but profound question. If you could only work on 3 things this year, which 3 would create the most value toward your goals? Not the most urgent things, not the easiest things, the most strategic things. Most people can't answer this question. They have lists of dozens of priorities that all seem important. But if everything is important, nothing is important. Strategic thinking means identifying what's truly essential and organizing your time around that. Here's a framework, the strategic time hierarchy. At the top are high-leverage activities. These are things that create compound returns over time. Building skills, building relationships, building systems, building assets. These aren't necessarily urgent, but they're absolutely essential for long-term success. In the middle are high-value activities. These directly serve your goals and create immediate progress. Client work if you're building a business. Deep work on important projects. Strategic conversations. These activities have clear, measurable value. At the bottom are maintenance activities. Things that need to happen to keep life functioning, but don't create growth. Emails, meetings, administrative tasks, basic life maintenance. These are necessary but should be minimized and systematized. Now here's the problem. Most people spend their time inverted from this hierarchy. They spend most time on maintenance activities because they're urgent and visible. They spend some time on high-value activities when they have time left over. They rarely spend time on high-leverage activities because they're never urgent. Strategic time management inverts this. You protect time for high-leverage activities first. These get scheduled and protected fiercely. Then you allocate time for high-value activities. Then, and only then, you handle maintenance activities as efficiently as possible. This requires saying no, a lot, to meetings that don't serve your strategic priorities, to requests that aren't aligned with your goals, to opportunities that are attractive but not strategic. Every yes to something is a no to something else. Strategic time management means being deliberate about what deserves your yes. Here's a specific practice, the weekly strategic time audit. Every week, look at how you actually spend your time. Not how you intended to spend it, how you actually spent it. Categorize every block of time. How much went to high-leverage activities, high-value activities, maintenance activities, wasted time? Most people are shocked when they do this honestly. They discover they're spending 80% of time on maintenance and wasted time, 20% on high-value activities, and maybe 5% on high-leverage activities. This allocation guarantees you'll stay busy without making real progress. Strategic time allocation might look like 20 to 30% on high-leverage activities, 40 to 50% on high-value activities, 20 to 30% on maintenance activities, minimizing wasted time. This allocation ensures you are not just maintaining your current position, but actively building your future. But how do you actually protect time for strategic activities when everything feels urgent? You use time blocking. You schedule your high-leverage and high-value activities first, before anything else gets scheduled. These blocks are appointments with yourself that you don't break. For most people, this means morning blocks for high-leverage activities before the day's urgencies arrive. Your freshest, most focused hours go to your most important work. Not emails, not meetings, not catching up. Strategic activities that build your future. You also use batching. Instead of handling maintenance activities throughout the day, you batch them into specific blocks. Email time, meeting time, administrative time. This prevents maintenance from fragmenting your day and stealing focus from strategic work. There's another crucial practice, the strategic no. You need a clear framework for deciding what to decline. When someone requests your time, you ask, does this serve my strategic priorities? If not, the answer is no, delivered kindly but firmly. I appreciate you thinking of me, but this doesn't align with my current priorities. I need to decline. Most people struggle with this because they want to be helpful or they fear missing opportunities. But here's the truth. Every commitment to something not strategic is a commitment away from something strategic. You're already saying no to things. You're just saying no to your own priorities instead of others' requests. Strategic time management also means designing your environment to support deep work. Notifications off. Phone in another room during focus blocks. Clear desk. Closed door. Whatever it takes to create space for concentrated effort on high-leverage activities. Deep work, sustained focus on cognitively demanding tasks, is where high-leverage activities happen. You can't build complex skills in fragmented time. You can't think strategically in 15-minute blocks between meetings. You need extended periods of uninterrupted focus. Research suggests that even brief interruptions can take 20+ minutes to recover from. If you're being interrupted every 20 minutes, you never reach the depth required for high-leverage work. You stay on the surface, handling maintenance, never diving deep. Strategic time management creates space for depth. You're protecting multi-hour blocks for sustained focus. During these blocks, you're unreachable. You're not checking messages. You're not available for questions. You're doing the deep work that creates your future. Here's the counterintuitive truth. When you protect time for strategic deep work, you actually accomplish more overall while working less. Deep work is exponentially more productive than fragmented work. 3 hours of deep focus can accomplish what would take days of interrupted time. This means strategic time management often involves working fewer hours, but more intensely and strategically. You're not measuring success by hours worked or tasks completed. You're measuring success by progress on strategic priorities. Most people will resist this. They're addicted to busy. They feel productive when they're handling lots of tasks, even if those tasks don't matter strategically. They feel guilty when they're not constantly responsive, even if that responsiveness prevents real progress. But if you're serious about creating the life you want, you have to get serious about your time. Time is how you build your life. Every hour spent is an hour invested in something. The question is, are you investing strategically or just spending reactively? Strategic time management transforms your relationship with time. You stop feeling like time controls you. You start feeling like you're consciously choosing how to invest your most valuable resource. And that shift changes everything. Strategic learning and skill development. In a rapidly changing world, your ability to learn quickly and effectively is your ultimate competitive advantage. Skills that are valuable today might be obsolete tomorrow, but the ability to learn any new skill, that compounds across your entire life. Yet most people approach learning tactically. They learn specific things as needed. They accumulate random skills. They hope something will prove useful. This reactive approach keeps you always catching up, never ahead. Strategic learning is different. It's about identifying what to learn based on where you want to go, not just what's needed now. It's about building meta skills that make you better at learning anything. It's about creating systems that ensure continuous learning compounds. Let's start with strategic skill selection. Not all skills are equal. Some skills are highly specific and valuable only in narrow contexts. Others are transferable and valuable across many domains. Strategic learners focus on skills that multiply. Meta skills are skills that improve your ability to acquire all other skills. Things like critical thinking, pattern recognition, systematic problem solving, effective communication, learning how to learn, mental model building, focus and concentration, reading comprehension, information synthesis. These aren't necessarily what people think of as skills. They're capabilities that enhance every other capability. When you improve your critical thinking, you become better at everything that requires thinking. When you improve your learning efficiency, you acquire all other skills faster. Strategic learners prioritize meta skills early. They're building the engine that drives all future learning. Tactical learners skip meta skills to jump straight to specific skills, not realizing they're handicapping their learning speed. Here's a framework for strategic skill selection. Ask 4 questions. First, will this skill compound? Skills that compound are those that become more valuable as you use them and that enhance other capabilities. Communication skills compound because better communication makes everything else more effective. Technical skills and programming compound because each language makes the next easier to learn. Second, does this skill create optionality? Some skills open multiple doors. Others lead to narrow specialization. Early in your journey, skills that create optionality are strategic. Later, when you've chosen your direction, deep specialization becomes strategic. But the sequence matters. Third, is this skill becoming more or less valuable? Some skills are being automated or becoming commoditized. Others are becoming more valuable as the world changes. Strategic learners identify skills that will be more valuable in 5 years than today and build them now before competition increases. Fourth, does this skill leverage my existing strengths? Some skills build on what you already know. Others require starting from zero. Skills that leverage your existing capabilities are generally faster to develop and create unique combinations. Based on these questions, you build a strategic learning portfolio, a mix of meta skills that enhance everything, transferable skills that create optionality, specialized skills that create distinctive value, and edge skills that combine in unique ways. But strategic learning isn't just about what to learn. It's about how to learn efficiently. Most people learn inefficiently because they never study learning itself. They use whatever learning methods they happened upon rather than deliberately improving their learning process. Here are principles of strategic learning. Active over passive. You don't learn by consuming information. You learn by engaging with information, testing it, applying it, teaching it. Watching a video teaches you little. Watching a video, then immediately applying the concept teaches you much more. Spaced repetition over cramming. Your brain consolidates learning over time. Studying something briefly on multiple occasions is far more effective than studying it intensely once. Strategic learners build spaced repetition into their learning systems. Testing over reviewing. Testing yourself strengthens memory and understanding more than reviewing material. Strategic learners constantly test themselves, not just to assess knowledge, but to deepen it. Every test is a learning opportunity, not just an assessment. Interleaving over blocking. Studying one thing at a time feels efficient, but is actually less effective than interleaving multiple related topics. Your brain learns better when making connections between different concepts. Strategic learners deliberately mix topics rather than studying them in isolation. Explaining over reading. The best way to solidify understanding is to explain a concept to someone else or to yourself. Strategic learners maintain practices of teaching what they're learning, even if just to themselves. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Application over theory. Knowledge without application atrophies quickly. Strategic learners immediately apply what they're learning to real problems or projects. This not only deepens understanding, but reveals gaps that pure theory misses. Strategic learners also understand the importance of deliberate practice. Not all practice is equal. Mindless repetition doesn't create improvement. Deliberate practice does. Deliberate practice means working at the edge of your ability where things are difficult but not impossible, getting immediate feedback on your performance, analyzing mistakes and adjusting, repeating in cycles that progressively increase difficulty. Most people practice mindlessly. They repeat what they're already comfortable with. They don't push boundaries. They don't seek feedback. They don't analyze failures. As a result, they plateau quickly and never reach advanced levels. Strategic learners practice deliberately. They identify specific aspects of a skill to improve. They create exercises that target those aspects. They seek feedback from those more skilled. They analyze what worked and what didn't. They systematically push beyond their comfort zone. This is how people reach excellence, not through talent or more hours of practice, but through strategic, deliberate practice that continuously pushes capabilities higher. There's another crucial element, learning communities. You don't learn in isolation effectively. You learn best in community with others who are learning similar things or who are further along in their journey. Strategic learners deliberately build or join learning communities. These might be formal courses or programs. They might be informal groups of peers who are learning together. They might be mentorships with those more advanced. The specific form matters less than the function. A community that challenges you, provides feedback, shares resources, celebrates progress, and maintains momentum. Learning in community also exposes you to different approaches and perspectives. What works for one person might not work for you, but seeing different strategies helps you find what does work. You're not reinventing every wheel. You're learning from others' experiments and sharing your own. Strategic learners also maintain learning systems. They don't just learn when they feel motivated. They've built practices that ensure consistent learning regardless of motivation. Daily reading time, weekly skill practice, monthly project completion, quarterly skill assessment. These aren't dependent on motivation. They're systematic. One powerful practice, the learning journal. After any significant learning experience, reading a book, taking a course, having an insight, spend time reflecting and capturing. What were the key ideas? How do they connect to what you already know? What will you do differently based on this learning? Who should you share this with? This practice transforms passive consumption into active learning. You're not just exposed to ideas. You're processing, integrating, applying them. Over time, your learning journal becomes a resource that shows your intellectual development and captures insights you'd otherwise forget. Here's something most people miss. Unlearning is as important as learning. You're carrying mental models and assumptions that were formed earlier in your life. Some are still valid. Some are outdated. Some were never valid. Strategic learning includes regularly auditing your beliefs and being willing to unlearn what's no longer serving you. This is difficult. We're attached to our existing beliefs. Unlearning them feels like admitting we were wrong. But strategic learners embrace this. They're constantly questioning their assumptions, testing their mental models, updating their understanding. They care more about being accurate than being right. Strategic learning is the ultimate investment in yourself. Skills can be taken away by changing circumstances. Knowledge can become obsolete. But the ability to learn quickly and effectively, that's permanent capability that compounds across your entire life. Every day you invest in learning is a day you're building your future adaptability and effectiveness. We're building a comprehensive library of strategic learning frameworks and practices. If you want to accelerate your learning and skill development, subscribe to the channel. We'll be sharing specific techniques, case studies, and systems for learning anything faster. Subscribe now. Strategic financial positioning. Money isn't the goal. Freedom is. Financial strategy is about building the freedom to make choices based on what's important to you rather than what's financially necessary. Most people have their financial strategy backwards. They focus on earning more money, which often means trading more time for money. They stay trapped on the treadmill. Earn, spend, earn more, spend more, never achieving real financial freedom. Strategic financial positioning is different. It's about building assets that generate value without constant time investment. It's about creating situations where your money works for you rather than you working for money. It's about positioning yourself for financial independence, not just high income. Let's start with understanding the difference between income and wealth. Income is money you earn by trading time. Wealth is assets that generate value over time. High income doesn't necessarily create wealth. Many high-income professionals spend everything they earn and have no wealth. Many moderate-income strategic thinkers build substantial wealth through disciplined asset accumulation. Strategic financial positioning focuses on wealth building, not just income maximization. Yes, income matters, but what you do with income matters more. The person earning $75,000 who saves and invests $25,000 is building more wealth than the person earning $150,000 who saves $10,000. This starts with controlling lifestyle inflation. As income increases, most people increase spending proportionally or more. They buy bigger houses, nicer cars, more expensive habits. Their lifestyle expands to consume all income. This keeps them dependent on continued high income, vulnerable to any disruption. Strategic thinkers control lifestyle inflation deliberately. As income increases, they increase savings and investment proportionally. Their lifestyle improves moderately, but the majority of income growth goes to wealth building. This creates growing financial independence over time. Here's a strategic financial framework, the 70-20-10 rule. Live on 70% of income. Invest 20% in wealth-building assets. Use 10% for learning, experiences, and calculated risks that could create future income. This isn't rigid. Adjust percentages to your situation, but the principle matters. The majority of income goes to future freedom, not current consumption. But strategic financial positioning isn't just about saving. It's about investing strategically. Your money should work for you, ideally generating returns that compound over time. There are different types of assets to consider. Financial assets like stocks, bonds, and funds. Real assets like real estate. Business assets if you're building a company. Human capital assets, your skills and capabilities. Each has different characteristics, risks, and returns. Strategic financial positioning means building a diversified portfolio of assets appropriate to your situation, time horizon, and risk tolerance. For most people, this means consistent investment in low-cost index funds for long-term growth, building emergency reserves for resilience, developing skills that increase earning power, and potentially building business or real estate assets if those align with your capabilities and interests. The key principle: your assets should compound. Compounding is the most powerful force in wealth building. Small amounts invested consistently over long periods become substantial wealth through compounding returns. But this only works if you start early and stay consistent. Here's the math that changes everything. Investing $500 per month for 30 years at 7% annual return creates roughly $570,000. That same $500 per month for 40 years creates roughly $1.2 million. That extra decade more than doubles the result because of compounding. Time is your greatest asset in wealth building. This is why strategic financial positioning should start as early as possible. Even small amounts invested young become significant wealth later. Waiting to invest until you earn more often means missing the most powerful compounding years. But strategic financial positioning isn't just about accumulation. It's about positioning for freedom. What's your number? How much wealth would give you the freedom to make choices based on what matters rather than financial necessity? For some people, this might be enough passive income to cover basic expenses, creating the freedom to pursue work they love regardless of pay. For others, it might be enough to retire early. For others, enough to take risks on ventures without financial pressure. Your number is personal, but you should know what you're building toward. Once you know your number, you can reverse engineer the path. How much do you need to invest monthly to reach that number in your desired time frame? What rate of return do you need? What's realistic? This creates your strategic financial plan. But here's something most people miss. Strategic financial positioning isn't just about the accumulation phase. It's about building systems that generate passive income. Income that continues without your active time investment. This could be investment income from financial assets, rental income from real estate, business income from systems you've built, royalty income from intellectual property you've created, or other forms of income that aren't directly tied to your time. Building passive income streams is the ultimate financial strategy because it breaks the time-money link. You're no longer trading hours for dollars. Your assets generate income, whether you're working or not. This creates true financial freedom. Most people never build passive income because it requires upfront investment of time, money, or both without immediate returns. They're focused on today's income, not tomorrow's freedom. Strategic thinkers are willing to sacrifice some current income to build future passive income. They're playing the long game. There's another dimension to strategic financial positioning, reducing financial vulnerabilities. This means building emergency reserves so unexpected expenses don't derail your strategy. Having adequate insurance so catastrophic events don't destroy accumulated wealth. Avoiding high-interest debt that's expensive and creates stress. Building multiple income streams so you're not dependent on a single source. Financial resilience is part of financial strategy. You're not just building wealth. You're building a financial position that can withstand shocks, adapt to changes, and remain stable through uncertainties. Strategic financial positioning also means optimizing taxes legally. Different types of income and assets have different tax treatments. Strategic positioning means structuring your finances to minimize taxes over time. This might mean using tax-advantaged investment accounts, timing income recognition, or structuring businesses efficiently. You're not evading taxes. You're being strategic about minimizing legal tax burden so more money compounds toward freedom. Here's something crucial. Strategic financial positioning should align with your life strategy. Your financial goals aren't separate from your life goals. They serve your life goals. Money is a tool for creating the life you want, not the goal itself. This means your financial strategy should reflect your values and priorities. If you value experiences over possessions, your spending should reflect that. If you value independence over luxury, your savings rate should reflect that. If you value impact over personal consumption, Your giving should reflect that. Most people let cultural expectations or peer comparisons drive financial decisions. They buy houses they can't comfortably afford because that's expected. They drive cars they don't need because of status. They maintain lifestyles that require constant high income because of social pressure. Strategic thinkers ignore these pressures. They make financial choices aligned with their values and goals. If living simply enables early financial independence, they live simply. If investing in education creates better long-term returns than current consumption, they invest in education. They optimize for their goals, not others' expectations. This creates a profound shift. Money stops being a source of stress or status competition. It becomes a tool you're deliberately using to create freedom and support what matters to you. That shift alone transforms your relationship with money. Strategic financial positioning is ultimately about creating options. With financial freedom, you can take career risks others can't. You can pursue projects others can't afford to. You can help people others can't help. You can make choices based on impact rather than income. This is what money should do. Create freedom to live according to your values. Overcoming strategic obstacles. Even with clear strategy, you'll face obstacles. Knowing what those obstacles are and how to navigate them is part of strategic thinking. The first obstacle is internal resistance. Part of you wants to change and grow. Another part wants to stay comfortable and safe. This internal conflict sabotages strategic implementation more than any external obstacle. Your brain evolved for survival, not growth. Change feels threatening even when it's positive. Your brain will create anxiety, doubt, and resistance when you try to implement strategy. This isn't weakness. It's normal human psychology. Strategic thinkers expect this resistance and plan for it. How do you overcome internal resistance? First, recognize it. When you feel anxiety about taking strategic action, that's often resistance talking. When you procrastinate on important tasks, that's resistance. When you suddenly feel busy with urgent but unimportant tasks, that's resistance. Name it. This is resistance. It's normal. It doesn't mean I'm on the wrong path. Second, start smaller. Resistance increases with the size of the change you're attempting. If your strategic action feels overwhelming, break it into smaller steps. The smaller the step, the less resistance you'll trigger. Build momentum through small wins rather than trying to make massive changes immediately. Third, use implementation intentions. Instead of vague commitments like, I'll work on my strategic goals, create specific if-then plans. If it's Monday morning at 8 a.m., then I'll work on skill development for 1 hour. Specific triggers reduce the decision-making that resistance exploits. The second obstacle is environment. Your environment either supports strategic action or undermines it. If your environment is designed for your old patterns, strategic change requires constant willpower. That's unsustainable. Strategic thinkers redesign their environment to support new patterns. If you're building a learning practice, you create a dedicated learning space with materials ready. If you're building financial discipline, you automate savings so they happen without decision. If you're building health practices, you eliminate junk food from your home. Environment redesign removes friction from strategic actions and adds friction to counterproductive actions. You're not relying on willpower. You're making strategic actions the path of least resistance. The third obstacle is social pressure. The people around you have expectations and patterns. When you change strategically, you're disrupting those patterns. Sometimes people resist your change, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. Your friends might discourage your ambitions because your growth makes them uncomfortable about their lack of growth. Your family might question your choices because they differ from family norms. Your colleagues might resist your new boundaries because your old patterns were convenient for them. Strategic change sometimes means accepting social friction. Not everyone will support your growth. Some relationships will need to evolve or end. This is uncomfortable, but necessary. You can't live strategically while optimizing for everyone else's comfort. How do you handle social pressure? First, be clear about your strategy. When you're clear and confident, you're less swayed by others' doubts. Second, find supporters. Build relationships with people who are on similar journeys. They'll understand and support your strategic choices, even when others don't. Third, communicate boundaries. You don't need to explain or justify your strategy to everyone, but you do need to communicate clearly what you will and won't do. The fourth obstacle is opportunity cost visibility. Every strategic choice means saying no to alternatives. Sometimes those alternatives are visible and attractive. Sometimes you'll wonder if you're missing out. This is especially difficult in the age of social media, where everyone's highlights are visible. You see others pursuing different paths that look attractive. You question whether your strategy is right. This doubt can paralyze strategic action. Strategic thinkers accept opportunity cost. They know that saying yes to their strategy means saying no to alternatives. They make peace with this. They remind themselves why they chose their strategy. They limit exposure to others' paths that create unhelpful comparison. You can't live all possible lives. Strategic thinking means choosing one path, knowing you're not choosing others. That's not loss. That's focus. Diluting your effort across multiple strategies is less effective than committing to one. The fifth obstacle is feedback loops. Strategic changes often don't show results immediately. You're investing today for future returns, but your brain wants immediate feedback. When you don't see quick results, you question whether your strategy is working. This is especially true for compound strategies. Building expertise takes years. Building wealth takes years. Building a network takes years. The results aren't visible early. Most people quit before compounding takes effect because they don't see progress. Strategic thinkers create artificial feedback loops. They track leading indicators, not just lagging indicators. If your strategy is building expertise, you track hours of deliberate practice, not just level of expertise. If your strategy is building wealth, you track savings rate, not just total wealth. Leading indicators give feedback before results are visible. They also celebrate small wins. Every week you execute your strategy is a win worth acknowledging. You're not waiting for the ultimate goal to feel successful. You're celebrating consistent strategic action. The sixth obstacle is strategy drift. Over time, without conscious attention, your strategy drifts. You start making small compromises, skipping strategic actions occasionally, saying yes to things that don't align. Gradually, your daily reality diverges from your strategy. This happens slowly and unconsciously. One week you're too busy for strategic work, then another week. Then it becomes a pattern. Before you realize it, you've abandoned your strategy without ever deciding to. Strategic thinkers prevent drift through regular review. Weekly reviews catch small deviations. Monthly reviews catch larger drift. Quarterly reviews realign strategy with execution. These reviews aren't optional. They're part of the strategy itself. The seventh obstacle is perfectionism. Some people don't start strategic implementation because conditions aren't perfect. They're waiting for the right time, the right resources, the right knowledge. This waiting is another form of resistance. Perfect conditions never arrive. There's always something that could be better. Strategic thinkers start with imperfect conditions and improve as they go. They accept that early execution will be messy. That's fine. Messy action beats perfect planning. Start before you're ready is strategic advice. You will learn more from 1 month of messy implementation than from 6 months of planning. Execution creates feedback. Feedback creates learning. Learning improves strategy. You can't learn without executing. These obstacles are real. Every strategic thinker faces them. The difference is that strategic thinkers expect obstacles, recognize them when they appear, and have frameworks for overcoming them. Obstacles don't derail strategy. They're part of the strategic journey. Strategic adaptation and pivoting. No strategy survives contact with reality unchanged. The world changes. You change. New information emerges. Strategic thinking includes knowing when and how to adapt. This might seem contradictory. We've emphasized commitment to strategy. Now we're talking about changing strategy. But there's no contradiction. Strategic commitment means following your strategy consistently while remaining alert to signals that it should evolve. Think of it like sailing. You set a destination and a course, but wind and currents change. You constantly adjust your sail and rudder. Sometimes you adjust course significantly, but unless something fundamental changes, you maintain your destination. You're committed to where you're going, flexible about how you get there. The key is distinguishing between strategic adaptation and impulsive abandonment. Impulsive abandonment happens when things get difficult or progress feels slow. You question your strategy because it's hard or not producing quick results. This is usually a mistake. Most strategies require sustained effort before results appear. Strategic adaptation happens when you receive clear signals that your assumptions were wrong or circumstances have changed materially. You're not quitting because things are hard. You're adapting because the landscape has shifted. How do you tell the difference? Go back to your strategic logic. Remember when you built your strategy, you identified assumptions that would need to be true for your strategy to work. Monitor those assumptions. If they remain true, stick with your strategy even when it's difficult. If key assumptions break, consider adaptation. Let's make this concrete. Imagine your strategy is building expertise in a specific technology to advance your career. Your assumptions might include, this technology will remain relevant for years. There's growing demand for experts in this technology. I find this work engaging enough to sustain long-term effort. If these assumptions hold, you continue even when learning is difficult or progress feels slow. But if the technology starts being replaced by a better alternative, that's a signal to adapt. If demand is declining rather than growing, that's a signal. If you've given it genuine effort and find the work draining rather than engaging, that's a signal. Signals for adaptation include key assumptions proving false, better opportunities emerging that weren't visible when you set strategy, your own growth revealing that your strategy doesn't align with your evolving values or capabilities, or major external changes that alter the landscape. When you receive these signals, you don't immediately abandon your strategy. You thoughtfully assess. Is this signal reliable or is it noise? Is this a temporary fluctuation or a permanent shift? Am I overreacting to difficulty or responding to genuine change? Often, you don't pivot entirely. You adjust. Maybe your core direction remains sound, but your tactics need updating. Maybe your goals remain valuable, but your approach needs modification. Maybe your timeline needs extending or shortening. Strategic adaptation is iterative. You make adjustments, observe results, extract lessons, make further adjustments. You're constantly refining your strategy based on what you're learning. This is different from abandoning strategy when things get hard. There are times when full pivots are appropriate, when circumstances change so dramatically that your strategy no longer makes sense. When you discover something about yourself that fundamentally changes what's possible or desirable. When you've executed your strategy well, but discovered the results aren't what you expected or wanted. Full pivots are less common than adjustments, but when they're needed, Strategic thinkers execute them decisively. They don't cling to failing strategies out of sunk cost fallacy. They don't persist with strategies that aren't serving them just because they've already invested effort. But they also don't pivot impulsively at every difficulty. They distinguish between strategic adaptation and fear-driven quitting. The difference is in the reasoning. Strategic adaptation is based on evidence that assumptions have failed. Fear-driven quitting is based on discomfort or impatience. Here's a practice: the quarterly strategy review. Every 3 months, formally review your strategy. Look at your assumptions. Are they still valid? Look at your progress. Are you moving toward your goals? Look at your engagement. Is this strategy still aligned with who you're becoming? Look at your results. Are your actions producing expected outcomes? Based on this review, you decide. Continue with current strategy. Adjust tactics while maintaining direction. Pivot to a new strategy. Or double down with increased commitment. This structured review prevents both rigid adherence to failing strategies and impulsive abandonment of strategies that just need time. Strategic adaptation also requires cultivating what's called strong opinions, weakly held. You commit strongly to your strategy, strong enough to sustain effort through difficulty, but you hold it lightly enough to update when evidence suggests you should. This balance is difficult. Too weak commitment and you quit at every obstacle. Too strong commitment and you persist with failing strategies. The balance is commitment to strategic execution while remaining alert to strategic signals. Part of strategic thinking is accepting that you can't know everything in advance. Your initial strategy is your best theory with available information. As you execute and gather data, you update your theory. This isn't failure. It's strategic learning. The goal isn't to create a perfect, unchanging strategy. The goal is to create a strategy that's good enough to start, then continuously improve it through execution and feedback. This process of continuous strategic improvement is more valuable than any single perfect strategy. Living strategically every day. Strategic thinking isn't just for big decisions. It's a way of living. Every day, every choice, every action can be strategic or reactive. Living strategically means bringing strategic consciousness to your daily life. This starts with the daily strategic review. Every morning, before diving into the day's activities, spend 10 to 15 minutes thinking strategically. Not about what you'll do today. That's tactics. About how today serves your larger strategy. Ask yourself, what's most important today? Not most urgent, most important. What actions today will create the most value toward my strategic goals? What can I say no to today that would free time for strategic priorities? How am I becoming who I want to become through today's choices? This morning practice creates intentionality. You're not just reacting to whatever the day throws at you. You're consciously aligning your day with your strategy. Throughout your day, practice strategic awareness. Notice when you're about to make reactive choices. Pause. Ask, is this aligned with my strategy? Sometimes the answer is yes, and the reactive choice is fine. Sometimes the answer is no, and you choose differently. The key is consciousness. You're choosing, not just reacting. Notice patterns in your behavior. When do you make your best strategic choices? When do you make reactive choices? What triggers strategic thinking versus tactical reaction? Understanding your own patterns helps you design your day to support strategic choices. Notice what drains energy versus what creates energy. Strategic living means organizing your life to maximize energy-creating activities and minimize energy-draining activities. Not perfectly. Life requires handling some draining activities, but strategically. You are deliberate about the balance. At the end of each day, spend 10 minutes on a strategic debrief. What happened today that was strategically significant? What did I learn? What should I do differently tomorrow? What progress did I make towards strategic goals? What patterns did I notice? This daily reflection closes the learning loop. You're not just living through your days. You're extracting lessons from them. Over time, this accelerates your strategic development because you're learning from every experience. Weekly, do a deeper strategic review. Look at the week as a whole. Did you spend time on strategic priorities or get caught in reactive mode? What worked well? What didn't? What should you adjust for next week? What progress did you make toward larger goals? Use this weekly review to plan the following week strategically. Identify your key strategic priorities for the week. Block time for them. Anticipate obstacles and plan how you'll handle them. You're not just hoping the week goes well. You're designing it strategically. Monthly, step back further. Review the month. Are you making progress toward your quarterly and annual goals? Is your strategy still sound, or does it need adjustment? What have you learned that should inform your strategy? What capabilities have you built? What relationships have you developed? What systems have you improved? Use monthly reviews to ensure you're not just busy, but moving strategically. It's easy to fill days with activity that doesn't create strategic progress. Monthly reviews catch this before months turn into years of misdirected effort. Quarterly, do a comprehensive strategic assessment. This is more than reviewing progress. It's questioning strategy itself. Are your goals still right? Is your direction still aligned with who you're becoming? What's changed in your environment or understanding that should update your strategy? Should you pivot or double down? Quarterly reviews prevent strategic drift. Without them, you can easily end up far from your intended path without noticing how you got there. With them, you're constantly realigning, constantly improving, constantly ensuring your strategy reflects your current understanding and situation. Living strategically also means building strategic relationships into daily life. You're not networking strategically just at events. You're being strategic about relationships every day. Who did you invest time with today? Did those interactions serve mutual growth? Did you create value for others? Did you learn from them? Living strategically means bringing strategic consciousness to consumption. What are you consuming? Information, entertainment, food, purchases. Is your consumption strategic or reactive? Are you consuming things that serve who you're becoming, or just filling time and satisfying immediate wants? This doesn't mean being rigidly strategic about everything. Rest is strategic. Play is strategic. Joy is strategic. But even your rest and play can be strategic or reactive. Strategic rest restores you. Reactive rest just numbs you. Strategic play refreshes you. Reactive play wastes time you later regret. Living strategically means being conscious about the difference. You're making deliberate choices about how you rest, play, and enjoy life, not just defaulting to whatever's easy or numbing. Here's something crucial. Living strategically should feel enlivening, not exhausting. If your strategic practice feels like constant pressure, you've designed it wrong. Strategic living creates energy and clarity. It removes decision fatigue by providing frameworks. It reduces anxiety by giving you confidence you're making progress on what matters. If strategic living feels exhausting, simplify. You're probably trying to be strategic about too many things. Pick a few key areas where strategic thinking matters most. Let other areas be more spontaneous. You're not optimizing every moment. You're being strategic where it creates the most value. Living strategically is also about creating strategic space. This means protecting time for thinking, for reflection, for strategic work that isn't urgent. Most people's lives are so full that there's no space for strategy. They're always in reactive mode because they've scheduled themselves into constant action. Strategic space means having unscheduled time in your week. Time that's not obligated. Time when you can think, reflect, work on strategic priorities, or just be. This space is where strategic insights happen. This space is where you notice patterns. This space is where you connect ideas. Without it, you can be busy and productive without being strategic. Build strategic space into your schedule deliberately. It might feel indulgent when you're busy, but strategic space is where you ensure your busyness is directed toward what matters. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity for strategic living. Living strategically every day transforms sporadic strategic thinking into continuous strategic living. If you want to build this practice, subscribe to the channel. We'll be sharing daily and weekly strategic practices, templates, and frameworks. Subscribe now and start living strategically today. Creating your strategic life. The path forward. We've covered tremendous ground. From understanding strategic thinking through designing your future self, building systems, managing time strategically, developing skills, positioning finances, overcoming obstacles, adapting when needed, and living strategically every day. Now comes the most important part, implementation. Everything we've discussed is theoretical until you act on it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. Action creates transformation. So here's what happens next. You have a choice. You can close this video, feel momentarily inspired, then return to your previous patterns. Most people will do this. They'll consume strategic thinking content without becoming strategic thinkers. Or you can do something different. You can commit to becoming a strategic thinker. Not just understanding strategy intellectually, but actually implementing it in your life. Actually designing your future deliberately. Actually building systems that work for you. Actually living strategically every day. If you choose the second path, and I hope you do, here's how to start. First, within the next 24 hours, do this. Take 1 hour to articulate your strategic vision. Who do you want to be 5 years from now? Write it down in detail. Not vague wishes, specific vision. What capabilities will you have built? What will your typical day look like? What impact will you be having? What will be different about you as a person? Don't wait for perfect clarity. Start with what you know. You will refine this vision over time, but getting something written down is infinitely better than keeping it vague in your head. Second, within the next week, do this. Build your goal architecture based on your 5-year vision. What identity goals serve that vision? What directional goals? What milestone goals? What action goals? Create the hierarchical structure we discussed. Write it down. Make it visible. Third, within the next 2 weeks, do this. Design one strategic system. Pick one area where you're currently relying on motivation or willpower. Design a system that would produce the outcome you want reliably. Implement that system. Execute it daily until it becomes automatic. Then design your next system. Fourth, within the next month, do this. Implement daily and weekly strategic reviews. Morning strategic reviews to align your day. Evening debriefs to extract lessons. Weekly planning sessions to ensure you're spending time strategically. Make these non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Fifth, ongoing. Build your strategic council. Identify people who can help you think more strategically. Reach out. Build relationships. Create regular opportunities for strategic conversation. You're not doing this alone. This is your roadmap for the next month. 5 specific actions that will transform you from someone who understands strategic thinking to someone who lives it. Most people won't do these things. They'll intend to, but they won't actually do them. That's the difference between consumers of content and creators of change. You have everything you need. The frameworks are clear. The practices are specific. The only variable is whether you'll actually implement them, whether you'll do the uncomfortable work of changing how you operate. whether you'll step back from reactive mode long enough to become strategic. Here's what I know. If you implement what we've covered, your life will be different 1 year from now. Dramatically different. You'll make decisions with clarity you don't have now. You'll position yourself for opportunities you don't see now. You'll build capabilities you don't have now. You'll create systems that produce results that seem impossible now. But that only happens if you act. All the knowledge in the world doesn't change your life. Only action changes your life. Strategic knowledge plus strategic action equals transformed life. So the question is, will you act? Will you commit the next 30 days to implementing strategic thinking in your life? Will you actually design your future rather than just wishing for it? Most people won't. They'll return to comfortable patterns. They'll stay reactive. They'll keep hoping life will improve without doing the work to improve it. They'll look back years from now and wonder why their life didn't change. But you can be different. You can be someone who takes knowledge and acts on it. Someone who designs their life deliberately. Someone who thinks strategically and lives strategically. The tools are in your hands. The path is clear. The only question is whether you'll walk it. I believe you will. You've engaged with this material deeply. You've invested time in learning strategic thinking. That tells me you're serious. You're not just consuming content. You're looking for transformation. So here's my invitation. Commit to the next 30 days. Implement what we've covered. Take the 5 actions I outlined. Build the daily practices. Design your systems. Live strategically. And document your journey. Share what you're learning. Connect with others who are on this path. Strategic thinking develops best in community, not isolation. We're building that community right here. Subscribe to this channel. Join us. Share your progress in the comments. Ask questions. Support others who are on this journey. We're creating a movement of people who refuse to live reactively, who choose to design their lives deliberately. 30 days from now, you'll be different. You'll have started systems that will compound over years. You'll have clarity about your direction that you don't have now. You'll have evidence that strategic living works because you'll have lived it for 30 days. And that's just the beginning. Strategic thinking isn't a 30-day project. It's a lifetime practice. But 30 days is enough to experience the transformation, to feel the difference between reactive and strategic living, to prove to yourself that you can do this. Your life is your most important project. You've been given one life, limited time, and the incredible gift of consciousness that allows you to design how you spend that time. Most people waste this gift. They let their life be shaped by defaults, by circumstances, by other people's expectations. You don't have to waste it. You can use strategic thinking to create the life you actually want. Not someone else's version of success. Not what society expects. The life you want. That life is possible. It's within your reach. Not because it's easy. It's not easy, but because it's doable. Thousands of people have used strategic thinking to transform their lives. You can be one of them. The game is already being played. Every day you're either moving strategically or drifting reactively. Every choice either serves your future or just fills time. Every action either builds who you're becoming or maintains who you've been. Strategic thinking gives you the tools to play the game consciously, to make choices deliberately, to design your life intentionally. The question isn't whether this is possible. The question is whether you'll do it. I think you will. Take the first step today. Take 1 hour to write your 5-year vision. Just 1 hour. That's all it takes to start. Everything else flows from that. Your strategic life is waiting. It won't create itself. You have to create it. But you have everything you need to start. So start. Today. Now. Create the life you want through strategic thinking. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join this community. Let's build strategic lives together. The journey starts now.